So you got through college, and college is harder when you're working weekends selling funnel cakes in order to just be able to survive. But getting by is not enough. You have to succeed. You have to thrive. You have to chase that dream. And at some point, you realize that there was more opportunity. So how did you actually end up working for Goldman Sachs? I mean, out of all the different tropes in this election season, to have DACA and working at Goldman Sachs kind of connected in this narrative is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so I was walking around on campus my sophomore year in college, and I started to develop this idea that maybe if I could become financially and professionally successful, that I could earn my way into America. Because one of the biggest things I heard growing up, and we still hear it now, is that immigrants, and especially undocumented immigrants, that we come to take, that we come to somehow drain the system, and that we come to just get on welfare and get all of this government services. So I wanted to prove to this country that that's not why we come here, and that in fact I wasn't just going to just get by. Like, I was gonna reach for the stars, and I was gonna make it as high as I possibly could. And then I saw this poster on campus that said I could make $10,000 working on Wall Street for the summer. And for a young woman who had $5 in her bank account, then $10,000 seemed like the answer to all of her problems. And I thought, that's where I need to go. I need to go work on Wall Street. And then I became a finance major, and I got a bunch of other internships so that I could be qualified to apply for an internship at Goldman. I applied to the internship at Goldman. I got the internship. I went to New York for the summer. And my one goal for the summer was to get an offer. Like, even if I didn't like the job where I was working or the team that I was working for, I wanted to get an offer so then I could use that offer to go work at wherever other firm I wanted to go work, or other groups within Goldman. And by the end of the summer, I remember, like, very distinctly going to go say bye to everyone and taking little handwritten thank you notes to all the people that I worked with. And one of the managing directors walked me to the elevator, and he said, come September, you should expect some good news. So that could only mean I'm getting an offer. And I remember getting in the elevator, and I wanted to jump, like, up and down of, like, happiness and joy that I hadn't even graduated college, and I already had an offer from the most prestigious investment bank in the world. And I was happy for like 5 minutes, and I called my mom, and then it hit me, like, how am I actually going to take this job? Because I still don't have papers, and I'm gonna have to go through background checks, and not just from Goldman, but from the SEC and from FINRA to get all my trading licenses. So how am I actually going to do this? But I knew that I didn't have any other choice but to take that job offer. Because if I didn't take it, then I was going to regret it the rest of my life. And if somehow I got caught, then I got caught. But if I wasn't going to succeed, it wasn't going to be because I didn't try.
I mean, immigrants, we get the job done, right? But there's an amazing pivot there, right? Just in the elevator of ecstasy to almost despair. And in calling your parents, what was their reaction? Because they obviously, if anybody knew the circumstances you were facing, it was them. Did they say, we have a plan? Did they say, you're going to have to not do that? Did they have any comfort whatsoever for you? And how did you actually then proceed to navigating that?
I mean, my mom, anytime I call her with any problem, she always tells me to pray. She's like, just pray on it. And I was like, okay, but I need, like, an answer, like, now. So, like, where's my answer? And I talked to lawyers, and I every year I would go like see a lawyer and try to figure out if there was a way for me to fix my immigration status. Like, was there any new law that I would qualify for? And the answer was always no. Like, you don't qualify for any kind of relief. There's no way for us to fix your immigration status. And at some point before I got this offer, I had to shut down my funnel cake stand because a museum was built. where I had my funnel cake stand. And so I had to get a job. And the only way to get a job was to have a social security number and a green card. And so I bought fake papers. And I never thought or imagined that I would use those papers to work outside of like the mall that I was working at. Okay, I would never have imagined, and also I was really hopeful because the DREAM Act was introduced in 2001, and the DREAM Act is a piece of legislature that would have given a path to citizenship to young undocumented people who came here when they were children, who were in school or who had served in the military, who were upstanding citizens, quote unquote. And that was introduced in 2001. And so I thought, like, this makes so much sense that there should be a path for people like myself who are in college, who are doing good things for America to become citizens. And every year I saw it fail. And it's 2016 and the DREAM Act still has never passed. But so I had these papers and I thought, I'm gonna use them. And if I get caught and I get deported, to me that was no worse than not being able to pursue my ambitions and what I had worked so hard to earn. So I filled out the papers. I showed up to Goldman. And I was terrified. You know, it wasn't. Now I talk about it casually in some ways, but making that decision as a 19-year-old, as a 20-year-old, making the decision that I'm going to break the law. I can't even really express fully what it felt like to make that decision and to feel like that's the only choice I had. Right? And somehow these papers worked. And then I was sitting at my desk as a first-year analyst working for Goldman Sachs.
So your mom was like, so God was right.
Yeah.
Good praying there. But the fact is you were then employed by what was clearly the most prestigious investment bank in the world, and you weren't just working, you know, in some sort of corner of the company, right? You were dealing at the very highest level with, you know, in wealth management with high-profile individuals, people who are bringing in huge sums of money and trusting, you know, kind of the gears of our capitalist economy in your hands, and you were doing something specific. You were creating derivatives, which, you know, obviously there's a lot of conversation around those now. But you were excelling, right? So how long did you spend there, and then at what point did you finally feel like something was missing?
So yeah, it's so funny to me because somebody said recently to me, like, you just want like nobody to like you, because on one side you have people who are like, you illegal, get out of our country. I mean, I can't tell you how many people want me deported, but I'm like, I'm an American citizen. I can't get deported. But they're like, you know, those people don't like you, and then the people who maybe are empathetic to you because you're an immigrant, but then you worked on Wall Street, like, they don't like you. So like, nobody likes you. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's tough. It's a tough life I live. But I was structuring derivatives, not like mortgage-backed derivatives, but and I was doing really well, and I really, even though there were definitely moments throughout that journey where you know, I was asked to go to London, for example. Well, I can't go to London because I can't leave the country. Right? There were opportunities for upward mobility that I had to pass on because I knew that it would require international travel, and that was really frustrating for me. To not be able to take advantage of every opportunity was beyond frustrating. And really, the moment that put everything into question was in 2007 when I was drinking my coffee, eating my piece of toast with peanut butter, no jelly. And I got this phone call from my sister in Mexico that our dad was really sick. And at that point, I had to decide if I was going to go to Mexico. And if I did that, how was I going to come back? And if I did come back, this time I would be crossing the border, which would make me ineligible for any kind of relief ever under the current system. And then it's also dangerous, right? Like I always think of the people who have risked their lives to come here. Like I didn't have to do that. I came here on a plane, right? But this time I would have to come in illegally. But if I didn't go and then something happened, how was I going to live with myself the rest of my life knowing that I chose this versus being with my father? And in the hours of sort of agonizing over what to do, my dad passed away. And I never got to see him alive again. I never, and it's been nine years now, and I mean, every time I talk about it, I get choked up a little bit because like that was, you know, in my book, What is the Cost of the American Dream? To me, that was the cost I had to pay, was never seeing my dad alive again. And it was a really high price. And at that point, I thought it's too high of a price to pay. And I can't be here anymore. And I can't do this anymore. And I thought, you know, as the song goes, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And I thought I made it in New York. I'm going to, not to get all LeBron, but I was like, I'm going to take my talents somewhere else.
Cleveland?
No comment.
Yeah.
But it was at that point that I really started questioning everything, and I thought, you know, what's the point of like having all this wealth and this status and this professional achievement if I can't even use them for the right moments? Right? Like buying a plane ticket the day of wasn't a problem. Mm-hmm. Like from a financial standpoint, that was not a problem, right? But what's the point if like I can't even be with my family? Mm-hmm. So that's really when when everything sort of shifted, and then I knew that that it had to change, that I had to change, that I had to be doing something different, and I started making all sorts of plans to go back to Mexico and to try to make a life there.